course, our Cowboys are always cranking out the news, and with an eye on the draft, here's your Wooly Bully, Zach Wolchuk.
Thank you. Yeah, we'll get to some first-round trade options. Brian, I'd like you to go ahead and maybe temper some excitement on a story that I think people are jumping to conclusions on when it comes to Robert Prince, the Cowboys wide receivers coach, being at LSU's Pro Day a couple days ago.
Yeah.
And I've seen a lot of Cowboy blogs and writers that are saying that the Cowboys just tip their hands and show that they could be very interested in Brian Thomas Jr., the other LSU receiver. Malik Neighbors obviously going to go probably in the top 8 picks.
Yeah.
Thomas Jr., though, it is possible, could be around at 24. He was in our mock draft.
He was in our mock draft. I think we were pretty true to our mock draft, too, of not trying to do anything crazy on it and pick the team needs, and maybe not so much the guys that we liked, but maybe who a team would like, or that type of player, that style of player. This time of year, coaches go and work these players out. You know, the LSU players, the receivers didn't work out at the combine.
Yes.
If you remember that whole thing.
They did not.
They did not.
This was the first time that really teams could get a good look at them.
Exactly.
In a workout setting.
Yeah, and I think this was one of those cases where Coach Prince, you know, they had a lot of, everybody was at that LSU Pro Day. So that was an opportunity to go see these kids. And, you know, if something happens, you never know. But when you start to make the schedules for these coaches, you try and send them to the top workouts. You try, because the coaches have to write reports on these kids. So they have to be able to stack them and then be able to present them to the group. And so by him being at LSU, he saw 2 of the top receivers in the country.
Right. So, I wouldn't jump to the conclusion. I'm sure that they do like Brian Thomas Jr. There's a lot to like. But I wouldn't necessarily dot those lines and be like, okay, he'll be the pick at 24.
No,
he's there.
I don't think so. No.
Here's some trade scenarios. Shout out to Blogging the Boys for putting these out. There's one trade up. There's 2 trade down scenarios. I'll give you the trade down because I think that's more likely what we're looking for. We want to try and acquire extra picks instead of move up in this year's draft. Trade down scenario, number 1. Cowboys trade down with the New England Patriots to pick number 34. So now you are moving out of day 1 of the draft. You are getting one of the top picks on day 2. In fact, you'd have the second pick on day 2. Terms of the trade, Cowboys get number 34. They get pick 68. They get pick 229, which I believe is in the 7th round. So you're picking up, what is that, a bottom 2nd round pick?
Yeah. You said 229?
Yeah. So 34,
round,
68, 229, essentially just for giving up 24 and moving down 10 spots.
Yeah, that's we talked about that yesterday in our mock and how far down we were willing to go. I'll tell you, pick 68 is very inviting, by the way, to me. Just because I want to trade with anybody that's in the top of the round, of course, just because give me the pick at the top of the round, give me the pick in the middle of the round or near the bottom of the round. You know, that's just a great way to operate right there. So I'm interested in any team that's willing to make that move. To be honest with you, to go 10 spots, I don't think that's a bad trade.
I don't either. Because now you're opening up a possibility at 34 and maybe even at, with that extra pick in the 60s. That could be a running back.
Yeah.
That could be your corner. That could maybe even be your center or a linebacker. But I think you're opening up the conversation of an Edgerrin Cooper from Texas A&M if you move back to 34. Or maybe one of those tackles or the center like Zach Frazier from West Virginia.
That's kind of what I was thinking.
It's still there and slides.
We lost both our centers yesterday. We lost Barton from Duke and we lost Powers Johnson from Oregon. They went ahead of us. So if you were interested in trying to grab the center, I wonder what tackle would be there. I wonder if one of those, we've kind of, it was interesting that we had Latham and some of those guys were there at 24 when we picked. Mims was there. Guyton was there.
Kingsley Suamataia,
was there.
BYU guy.
They were all there. So, if you're...
Jordan Morgan, who I do think they probably view as a guard.
I think
but he was still there.
Yeah, he's the Arizona tackle, but I think they see him as a guard.
Yeah.
But that would be, you could do some good there. You really, really could. And if would you consider taking the running back there?
That high at 34.
Yeah.
It's a little rich for me, but I think that it's.
So you got him in the second round, right?
I do have him in the second round, but I think it's in. You're considering it. You are, because I think they do really love Jonathan Brooks, and I can understand the.
I wonder. What I'm going to be interested to try and figure out here before we get going to the draft is, what do teams feel about the health of Latu from UCLA?
Yeah,
the edge, because that could be a trade back guy too, and I think there's and Chief, help me on this one.
Yep.
Or Gavin as well.
I'll do my best.
They could take any defensive player and it would probably help this team, wouldn't it?
Yeah, they have enough holes to where there's an endless amount of basically positions you could take that could be instant impact for you. You know, you need so much. When you look at the depth on this roster right now, you have enough holes you could basically handpick what you want to do. I would just prefer to lean, obviously, premium talent, but premium position.
Yeah, absolutely premium position. But at the same time, if you think that this guy has slipped to you and you're looking at a Jason Witten situation where this guy's going to have the potential to be a star player, I think you take him. You need great players more than anything. And while position value matters, you can't go away from great players because they play any position. I mean, other than punter and kicker.
Agreed.
Long snapper. No diss, Brian.
Here's
No
the other
Nice.
trade down option for you. Cowboys trade down to the Ravens, pick 30. You get 30, you pick up pick 93 to move down from 24
Say again.
to 30. So you move down to 30,
Gotcha.
you add pick 93,
Yeah.
and essentially all you're giving up, of course, is the 24th overall pick.
That's a trade that we've talked about a couple of different times. I think we've talked about Buffalo was a trade at 28. The Raven trade at 30 would make sense too.
Pick up a third-round pick.
Yeah, you get two. You actually, if you did the Buffalo trade, theirs is a little bit higher at the end of the third round, but they're both, but because you don't have a fourth, and that starts the third day, you essentially get the jump on everybody. You could take whoever you want there at 93 and not have to worry about that fourth round.
I know you're depending on having a dance partner in the trade down scenario,
Yeah.
but like that is my best guess for what ultimately ends up happening in round one for the Cowboys. I do believe they will trade down. They value picks so much, and they're in a position where they desperately need
They
them.
have to have one. I think they're definitely, depending on how the board falls. Now, let me ask you this, Brian. Is this worth it to move down? Ravens come up, and they actually take Graham Barton. So Barton was there. Ravens end up taking him. Guyton then goes to Green Bay. Johnny Newton, the defensive tackle from Illinois, goes to the Bucks. Powers Johnson, the center from Oregon, goes to the Cardinals. Adonai Mitchell, the wide receiver from Texas, goes to the Bills. Chop Robinson, the edge from the Lions, then goes from Penn State, goes to the Lions. Cowboys then take Zach Frazier, center from West Virginia, at 30.
Yeah, that's
still worth it overall.
Yeah, to me, because I personally have Frazier over Barton only because I've seen
he just played center more recently.
Yeah.
And then finally, the trade up would be Cowboys trade up with the Rams to pick number 19. So they get 19, they get back to 13 from the Rams, but they have to give up their third round pick 87 to move up. And they essentially are doing this to get one of those centers. They want to ensure they get a Graham Barton or a Jackson Powers Johnson. Is that worth doing?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so either. I think you wait and you let you see how the board falls.
Yep.
And let it come to you.